What up, guys? Welcome to the Son of Wonder. It was recently announced that Nicolas Cage would be starring in his very own Spider-Man Noir live-action TV series, so let's conversationalize. Alright guys, so this is a very recent announcement that Sony would be creating a live-action series based around Spider-Man Noir, the 1930s-esque version of Spider-Man from a different universe featured in Into the Spider-Verse and also the cartoon Ultimate Spider-Man, which I'll get to in a bit. But I wanted to make a video about this just because I feel like this is the first decision since No Way Home that Sony has made that was actually good. Since No Way Home, they haven't made a single good decision, but now, finally, they're actually creating something that people want to see. It's no secret that Sony's track record when it comes to creating properties around Spider-Man's side characters has not been great. I haven't even seen Morbius. I haven't even seen Madam Web. Everybody said they were absolutely terrible, so I didn't want to waste my time. Who wants to waste your time with that? I have seen at least the first Venom movie, and there are some cool elements to it, but I still think taking Venom and removing Spider-Man just ruins the purpose of Venom. Venom is a bad guy in the original comics that he was introduced in. You don't need to, make him an anti-hero. I get that he was an anti-hero in the later comics, but that's a whole other different topic. But bottom line, now, finally, we get an actually good decision. Now, Spider-Man Noir is a relatively recent introduction into the comic sphere. He was introduced in 2009. I first encountered Spider-Man Noir in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, and it was, basically, in short, Spider-Man was chasing the Green Goblin to other universes, and he comes across, amidst these adventures, he comes across Spider-Man Noir, which in that episode was like an older version of Peter Parker. So Spider-Man Noir is still Peter Parker, unlike some of the other Spider variants in the Spider-Verse, where you have like Gwen Stacy as Spider-Woman and Miles Morales as Spider-Man in this other universe. This other universe is still Peter Parker as Spider-Man, just in a 1930s setting, and there's a bunch of details that have changed, like smaller details. But I love, era-specific TV shows and movies and stuff, especially when they're set in, the 1930s, 1940s type of era. And the idea of making a live-action series based in that specific era, because it is an era-specific live-action series. It's not like they're just going to make Spider-Man Noir and put him in the modern day. They're going to put him in the 1930s. And it's funny because I am one of the very few people that didn't love Into the Spider-Verse. I did think Across the Spider-Verse, the second movie, was really good. And this series is apparently being produced by the same guys who wrote, at least Across the Spider-Verse. Christopher Miller and Phil Lord are their names. And they also wrote the Lego Movie. And so they've done some good stuff. And so, they made the Spider-Verse films, and they're going to produce this new series. And so that does give me hope that it's going to be good. And again, just in general, the idea, especially of taking Nicolas Cage, of all actors, taking Nicolas Cage. And that's funny because I feel like I've heard that he was going to be at different points throughout his career so many different comic book characters, but they ended up getting scrapped. He was going to play Superman in a Superman movie that was never made. And so I've always wanted him to find his comic book character. And I know he did the Ghost Rider movies, and I don't know if those movies were received quite well when they came out, but a comic book character that suits him well. And I feel like Spider-Man Noir is that perfect type of character, especially when you see the version presented in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. I can totally see Nicolas Cage playing that, because in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, it's an older Peter Parker. It's an adult Peter Parker who's lived a lot of life, and even the description they gave for this new live-action series is a former 1930s detective who's down on his luck. And so that sounds very similar to what they did in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. And again, the idea of taking Nicolas Cage, putting him in this position where he was a former superhero, but he's also a former detective in the 1930s setting. I really, really hope they make it black and white, because that would just, oh my gosh, that would just be a chef's kiss. It'd be the coup de grace. Like, again, the entire idea sounds great, but if you made it black and white, that would just add that extra layer of authenticity and awesomeness. And Nicolas Cage, of course, voiced Spider-Man Noir in the Spider-Verse films. And he, like I was saying before, I didn't finish saying it before, even though I wasn't as big of a fan of Into the Spider-Verse, he was like my favorite part about that movie, was Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. The lines they gave him, like my favorite line in that entire movie was when the bad guys come to Aunt May's house, and Aunt May says, well, if you're gonna fight, take it outside. And Spider-Man Noir just goes, we don't pick the ballroom, we just dance.
We don't pick the ballroom, we just dance.
That is the best line ever, and it's like such a line that would be said in that era, in the 30s. So yeah, like all of this to me sounds great. Like the concept sounds really awesome, and it's something that Sony really needs right now. Like they need something successful, like a Spider-Man property, even though it doesn't have the normal Spider-Man in it. And that's the other thing, like finally they're choosing a good character to do like a side project with. Because that's been the whole argument for Sony's Spider-Man universe, is that it doesn't have Spider-Man in it. There is no Spider-Man in the Venom movies and the Madam Web and Morbius, and Kraven the Hunter's coming out later this year. Venom 3 is coming out later this year. Oh my gosh, like how do you create a universe around that's based around one character, one superhero, and not have that superhero be included? Like it is literally the dumbest decision ever. It's the biggest attempted cash grab ever, because it's not a cash grab, because they've been losing money. So actually creating a series, a live action series. And I think honestly, like I usually prefer movies to TV shows, but I think because it should be a detective story, I think the idea of a TV show will suit the Spider-Man Noir universe better. Like, you can flesh things out more and get more, like, detective stories with a TV show than making, like, a big movie about this concept. I think you could get a whole lot more out of it with a TV show. So I do think that is the right call. And again, this is still Spider-Man. This is still a version of Spider-Man. Peter Parker Spider-Man. Just set in a different era. Kind of similar to how DC, like James Gunn said that the DCU, they were going to have like that main continuity, but they were also going to have the DC Elseworld stuff. So that's like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker and the Robert Pattinson Batman and all that. It's kind of similar to that. Like Sony can have their own Elseworlds. Like you have main Tom Holland Peter Parker doing the normal MCU Spider-Man stuff, but you can also have projects like this that like take place in an entirely different universe, set apart, and that you can do interesting stuff with. And again, like putting classic superheroes in different like points in history, like doing different period pieces with them, I think is a great idea. And like they've done that with like Batman and the DC comics, and you know, it's interesting when you have a character that you know and love and then put them in a different point in history or just a different setting in general. You can create new and interesting stories with that. And again, this is Peter Parker Spider-Man. Hopefully. I mean, I assume, like, in Spider-Man Noir, he is Peter Parker in the comics. And in every iteration that he's appeared in. So I don't... Like, if they made it to where, like, Nick Cage was playing somebody other than a version of Peter Parker, like, playing somebody different, I would not like that at all, because then he's not Spider-Man. He's just random guy who also happens to be a Spider-Person. That's part of my problem with the Spider-Verse thing, is that so many of the Spider-Verse different versions of Spider-Man aren't Peter Parker. Like, they're just like, what if we made a anime girl and a robot, like have a robot spider, and like they're a version of Spider-Man? Like, no, that's an entirely different character. So yeah, I want this to be Peter Parker Spider-Man, but in the 1930s, and he's like an older detective. That's what I want, because you'd basically be mixing my two favorite superheroes. You'd be mixing Batman and Spider-Man. You'd be putting them together. You got the detective and darker side of Batman, but you also have the fantastical nature of Spider-Man to go with that. So, Sony, this is a good decision. Keep making decisions like this, and you might not lose so much money because you're actually creating a project about Spider-Man this time, and you're not worried about creating your own side universe or universes about, like, of all characters to choose. You choose Madam Web and Morbius, complete, like, side characters. I know, it's a tangent, it's a whole rant, but I'm saying this because I'm glad that they're actually choosing a actual hero, even if it's a darker one, to do a series about this time. A character that could actually carry his own series, and they're getting Nicolas Cage to do it. They're giving him what I believe is going to be his proper comic book character, and I hope they do it right. We've had so many bad projects in general. Forget comic books and superheroes, like just so many bad projects in general. This is going to be an Amazon Prime Video show. We'll see, but as of now, unless they say anything stupid, I'm very much looking forward to this one. But let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a very blessed day. May the Lord be with you. May the Force be with you. Goodbye. And that's a wrap.